Pitchfork Media. Pitchfork Media. Oh! Pitchfork Media. You know, sometimes we're a little too hard on these guys.
Yeah, I know how that may sound, but I mean, for as much bile as Pitchfork tends to get, they genuinely have done some pretty cool things throughout their tenure as one of the world's most read and visited music journalism outlets. Their coverage has helped break out some fantastic artists like Titus Andronicus, Broken Social Scene, and Arcade Fire, among several others, and their focus on independent and lo-fi music, particularly in their early years, provided a vital outlet to underground and unknown talents that might not have been able to get their foot in the door otherwise.
I mean, as much as we do like to demonize Big Bad Pitchfork, they have done some genuinely good things throughout their tenure. They aren't all bad people, and I do want to take a moment to genuinely acknowledge that. But when they do happen to fuck up, woo! Lordy, do they fuck up!
I mean, a video like this is just gonna be a little mean-spirited by nature, but man, have Pitchfork made themselves an easy target over all these years. This website is notorious for its absolutely scathing reviews, its horrifically dreadful takes, and pages upon pages upon pages of writing so overwrought and pretentious, it's like putting David Foster Wallace and Bret Easton Ellis into a smoothie and forcing Nick Hornby to drink it at gunpoint.
Pitchfork was basically a handbook for every snooty, obnoxious, early 2000s hipster douchebag. That record store clerk who'd give you the side eye for buying the Trivium record. Oh, you're really gonna buy that, eh? That guy, this website was his Bible.
And it's kind of an unspoken in-joke to the majority of the music community that Pitchfork's reviews, they can be something. So I thought it would be fun to collect up some of the worst offenders over the years and just throw them together in a little list. My criteria for this list was pretty simple. These are reviews taken from Pitchfork, or at least were previously up on their website at one point.
So retracted reviews and deleted reviews and the like? Oh, well, they're still fair game, people.
And also, in the interest of fairness, no reviews under 4 years old. Hindsight is often 20/20, and the history books haven't quite called it on certain bands and albums yet.
No, I don't want to pick any of these particular fruits until they're good and ripe. So, stuff like this and this, for example, you guys are safe. For now. And I'm gonna attach the same general rule I attach to all of my list videos. This is just my list, only my personal opinions, and I'm not gonna cover every single bad Pitchfork review. Good God, if I did, we'd be here all week. These are just a few of my favorite least favorites, let's say. So let's get things started proper with a few dishonorable mentions.
Dishonorable Mention, Black Kids, Party Traumatic. This one is fairly notorious in the Pitchfork Hall of Snark because there isn't even a fucking review here. If you follow the hyperlink, you get a sentence, 2 pugs, and an apology.
A sentence, 2 pugs, and an apology is totally gonna be the name of my next indie folk album. But why do this?
Well, see, this review is actually a mulligan of sorts, because prior to Black Kid's full-length debut, they were hyping the shit out of these guys. They released a 4-song EP that Pitchfork gobbled right the hell up. Black Kids offer their most immediate bid for pop dominance, the article boasts, a record with not just a distinct aesthetic, but also one single-worthy track after another.
They really hype this EP up, but upon tracking it down for this video, This just sounds like all the shit from their debut, only mixed even shittier.
You know, come to think of it, maybe it's this initial 8.4 article that should be on the list, but I'm putting the Party Traumatic review here for a few reasons. A, this prick was actually paid to do nothing more than upload a JPEG, fuck you, and B, this had to be confusing as hell to anyone who didn't see the previous review. Without context, this doesn't even make any sense. How many readers back in the day were wondering what the fuck they were even talking about with this photo? Why, puppies?
I mean, I guess they have a small point given that black kids didn't exactly go on to set the world on fire, but guys, at least have the balls to admit to your mistakes. I mean, you fucked up. Leave the cutie innocent pugs out of this.
Dishonorable Mention, Liz Phair, self-titled.
Holy fuck, Pitchfork has put me in an unenviable situation here. I'm gonna have to defend Liz Phair's self-titled album.
I mean, I'm not gonna sit here and tell you that Liz's self-titled is an underlooked classic. It's horrendously misguided. Her fans, her detractors, and I think even her label tried to warn her not to make this record, and this album kinda ended up killing her entire career. Between this and Jules 0304, 2003 was a dire year for female singer-songwriters. It's not good. Nobody comes to the indie rock god queen who wrote the magnificent Exile in Guyville for Avril Lavigne shit. It's an album you can definitely have a strong opinion about, but Pitchfork, come on.
A zero? A straight up fucking zero. Look, I'm not exactly a defender of this particular album, but it's not that bad.
This album has plenty of rough moments, but really, at the end of the day, its only major crime is that it sounds like any other bland pop album of the time. Which again, nobody comes to Liz Phair for, I get that, but in this review in particular, the writer just seems to be more offended by the lyrics than the actual tonal shift here. It's gratuitous and over-determined, eschewing the stark and accusatory insights of Exile in favor of pointless F-bombs, manipulative ballads, and foul-mouthed schmeminism.
Yeah, $10 says this article was totally written by a guy, and called it.
This album isn't great, but, you know, people who don't know about Liz's legacy, people who have more tolerance for this sugary brand of pop, I could see them getting something out of this. It's not incompetently played or arranged or even poorly produced, at least for what it is, you know?
But, I mean, again, a zero, a full-blown zero. Like, the article itself doesn't even read like this is a zero review. A zero is, this album horrified me to my core, or it's not even fucking music. This guy just sounds bored and kind of grossed out because, oh, the girly girl said the fuck word. Like, this album is definitely not Liz Phair at her finest, but allow me to drop another pointless F-bomb. Fuck this review.
Dishonorable Mention, Andrew WK, I Get Wet. Okay, straight up, this one isn't on the list proper because...
I mean, of course Pitchfork was gonna hate this thing. Precious, artsy, dignified Pitchfork. Yeah, of course they're gonna have choice words for... the guy who's basically a real-life version of Michelangelo from the Ninja Turtles. I'm not surprised Pitchfork dunked on this album. If that were the only thing about it, I wouldn't even include it on this list. But have you actually sat down and read this review?
Alright, this is bullshit. I've had it. Is this what we've been reduced to? If this is what the future of music has in store for us, why no apocalypse on New Year's Eve '99? Doesn't God care? So as long as I never again have to envision his mangy raw is war hair swath, in parentheses, wash it! The gall! WK demanded respect, whether he deserved it or not!
Oh, holy shit, princess. Get over yourself.
I mean, I get it. It's not your thing. It's too intense for you. Okay. It's alright to tap out of an album that just defeats you. Hell, I've done that plenty of times, but the hoity-toity, holier-than-thou attitude this guy has throughout this entire review makes it an insufferable read. This dude is popping a monocle a minute. He's just so aghast that...
The rock star? On a rock and roll album? Being loud? The pain of it all.
And hey, since you mentioned Raw is War, the writer here goes full-blown Attitude Era with some really tasteless lines referring to WK's style of music as hard rock, and this particularly choice little line, I saw WK thrashing about on M2 like a hyperactive retarded kid whose parents failed to give him a disciplinary shaking.
And look, I know this kind of language was more acceptable in early 2000s, but God, these kind of cheap pot shots, along with all the crybaby wah, it's too loud, me no like it loud bullshit, does absolutely nothing to help this guy's case. Like, dude, tighten your diaper, you'll be okay, I promise.
While not a full-blown zero, this review reads as bad as one, and the thing is, nobody else was going this hard on the album, not at the time and especially not today. And to add insult to injury, years later, this review was retracted. Holy shit, best new reissue, ain't that some tea?
And the cherry on top of this entire article, this wasn't written by some random ass freelancer or anything. No, the author of this article, Ryan Schreiber. Yes, the Ryan Schreiber. The founder and CEO of Pitchfork. The head of the company is writing articles like this. Like this. Strap in, people. We are in for a hell of a ride.
Dishonorable mention, Tegan and Sara. So jealous.
So, I said when I first drafted up this list that I wasn't gonna be super personal and I was gonna try to be as subjective as humanly possible and not just rattle off a bunch of reviews that I'm specifically butthurt about. I wanted to do this right, but guys, this one hits close to home.
3.4 to one of the best albums of the 2000s. This is the album with Where Does the Good Go, Wake Up Exhausted, Walking with a Ghost. And our dude here goes on to say that each instrument is as nuanced as Hannity and Combs.
God, there's a reference that'll make you feel old.
Compares the astounding Walking with a Ghost, one of Tegan and Sara's biggest hits, at least before this happened, to an old dummy looping MP3 file from Kazaa.
Sweet Jesus, now I really do feel old. Writing pro tip, don't fill your review full of references that'll be out of date in 2 weeks.
And he even says the aching and painful ballad Fix You Up touches on boy band territory. He doesn't even explain where the fuck he gets this impression, it's just... Oh
yeah, I could totally see JT dancing to this.
To be fair, this is kind of a case of first-timer fuck-ups, as this was the first time the site had covered the Quinn twins. They would be a lot less harsh to the gals as the years went on, but this first review here, especially with the gift of hindsight, feels so out of touch. Our man's biggest gripe here seems to be the fact that Tegan and Sara have gotten too poppy on this record.
This album. Too poppy. Oh my god. Do you think this guy's head just straight up exploded the first time he heard Heartthrob? Again, I apologize if this segment seems a little self-indulgent, but Tegan and Sara are sweetie lesbian senpais, and god damn it, in this house, we respect our sweetie lesbian senpais! That's up, people. That's up.
Dishonorable Mention, Jet, Shine On. Jet's sophomore album. One of the site's most infamous reviews, you probably all saw this one coming. It's yet another double goose egg from the old boys club, and like Party Traumatic, there is no review here. No text to speak of at all, no article, no introductory sentence, not even an apology, just a link to a video of a monkey pissing in its own mouth.
Why is this only a dishonorable mention? Well, they're not wrong. Seriously, why did we let Jet become a thing? Shame on us for letting Jet become a thing. But now it's time to finally get into the list proper. So let's start out with...
Number 10.
An absolute travesty!
Okay, so Pitchfork has always been a little hostile towards punk rock, just in general. I mean, there's stuff like this, stuff like this, stuff like...
Oh, you mother...
So an album like Siren Song of the Counterculture, you don't expect it to get aces or anything, but this review is just straight up spiteful. Why, in God's green ballsack, is this review written as an open letter to Ralph Nader? Seriously, the whole thing is written like it's a pitch for his presidential campaign, and if you don't know who Ralph Nader is, and these days especially, I wouldn't blame you for that, this review will barely even make sense to you. Their over-the-top bloviating for true believers is matched only by an eagerness to please their new corporate paymasters. Rise Against are so multi-dimensional, they offer jars of clay fronted by Gavin Rossdale moment that proves what Chris Carrabba does actually takes talent. Rise Against are the Optimus Prime of modern punk, combining the adolescent yearning of Blink-182 with the self-righteous snare drums of Minor Threat. The self-righteous snare drums?
Explain to me how a snare drum can sound self-righteous. Explain to me in exquisite detail how a snare drum can be self-righteous. I want 1,000 words on how a snare drum can be self-righteous, you self-aggrandizing twat!
While he does bring up some valid points about Rise Against's supposedly powerful political stance being a bit on the vague side, that is actually a legit criticism that does kind of follow the guys around to this day. Any valid points this guy may have had, though, just drown in a never-ending sea of over-the-top bloviating.
For fuck's sake, who even wrote this tripe? Oh, it's that same motherfucker who dunked on So Jealous. Lil Sweetie, we got work to do.
Number 9.
You know who I miss? Audioslave.
One of the few supergroups that was genuinely super, and their seminal self-titled debut has aged like fine wine. So many amazing cuts from that thing. Cochise, I Am the Highway, Like a Stone. I listened to this album again for this video, and god damn, it still holds up after all this time.
I mean, nobody could reasonably have much to complain about with an album this fucking magnificent, right? I think you know exactly where I'm going with this. God damn!
Another gem here from site founder Ryan Schreiber. This review features all the overdramatic snark you've come to expect at this point, what with its over-the-top soapbox barking about how this band is punishment for Generation X's sins.
Like, where do I even begin to throw shade at that sentence?
Not to mention our tasteless founding father's absolute giddiness to call things retarded.
Seriously, what is your malfunction here, dude? Legit, fuck you for this bullshit.
But on top of all of that, this article is full of stuff that's just straight up wrong. The story goes that sometime after Zach De La Rocha dropped out of Rage, Cornell agreed to be the new singer so long as they ditched the political bent and changed their name.
No, Chris didn't request they nix their political element. He just wasn't much for writing political songs at the time. I mean, Chris wrote all the songs in Audioslave, Zach wrote all the songs in Rage Against the Machine, and in case you can't notice for whatever reason, they're two separate people.
It's Cornell that's made a bitch out of all of them, forcing them to cancel a slot on the Ozfest bill.
Again, that wasn't Chris's fault. It was a minor snafu between the two guys' management companies. This is softball shit here.
All I can picture is high-fiving Rick Rubin and hitting the beach to play volleyball with Creed. Duck, because America's gonna vomit.
Hey, let's check on those numbers, shall we? Did America actually vomit? Yeah, I didn't think so. Dude, my amateur YouTube having ass should not have to tell the founder of a multimedia news site to fact check his sources.
Number 8.
So, this might be kind of a stupid question, but hands up, how much of my audience is emo? Yeah, there you are. Y'all stay beautiful.
Yes, emo. The heartfelt lyrics, the colorful melodies, and fringe after glorious fringe. God, emo was great, wasn't it? Especially in the late 90s to early 2000s when it really began kicking into high gear. And a notable album from this renaissance would definitely be the Get Up Kids' sophomore outing, Something to Write Home About.
This album is one I didn't actually catch back in the day. I know, I'm such a fake emo, I get it. But I did get the chance to spin it for research on this particular video, and yeah, this holds up pretty well. It's a good slice of classic-ass emo. The kind of emo you really picture in your head when someone brings up the name of the genre.
It's touching, serene, vulnerable, and kinda heavy. It's a good mix of all the elements you'd want out of a good classic-style emo record. What did Pitchfork Oh, Jesus! Though, strangely enough, when you actually sit down to read this review, it's pretty innocuous for the most part. Contributor Brent DiCrescenzo mostly just goes on about how boring and tedious it all is to him. It's not the most painful read at first, but for this article, it isn't so much what's in the text as what isn't. He seems to use the word pop a lot to describe this album. That's really strange. It's not a pop record. Why does he keep referring to it as...
Oh my god, he doesn't know what emo is!
No joke, there is not one mention or even an allusion of the genre in this article. Given how tone-deaf the review comes off and how he keeps being so utterly befuddled at how terrible of a pop record it is, yeah, this reads like the dude just straight up doesn't know emo is a thing. Granted, at this stage, emo was still kind of underground. It had yet to really break out into true mainstream popularity.
But, like, isn't Pitchfork supposed to be the underground indie-centric site? I mean, it's not like emo wasn't a thing at all in '99. Fuck, Rites of Spring had been around since 1984. If anyone was gonna know that emo was a thing in '99, it should have been motherfucking Pitchfork.
How do you drop the ball this badly and still get published? And that's not even mentioning the horrid closing statement where DeCrescenzo straight up tells the band to go ahead and sell out because independent music doesn't need you.
The most trusted site in independent music, everybody! God, and they call me fake emo. Jesus!
Number 7.
Yeah, you know, reading through all these articles has been just an infinitely frustrating experience. You know what my mantra has been throughout the whole creation of this video? I'm not here. This isn't happening. I'm not here. That's a link.
Radiohead. I mean, need I say anything more? Rock superstars, indie darlings, a band that would go on to completely defy genre and release a metric fuck ton of amazing music along the way. And also King of Limbs. But Pitchfork, man, Pitchfork. They've actually been extremely kind to these guys over the years. But with their controversial follow-up to OK Computer, Kid A, they were absolutely rapturous.
See, sometimes they do get it right. I agree, Kid A is a masterpiece. It's one of the most important albums of the early 2000s, and it's easily a 10 out of 10 record, for sure. But, people, you know, positive reviews can be poorly written, too.
Take, for example, Pitchfork's original, their original review from 2000, not this remastered BS.
Pitchfork really have a bad habit of trying to bury their most embarrassing reviews. It's kind of funny.
I love Kid A, but parts of Brent DeCrescenzo, oh no, him again? Parts of his review are just strange. Even the opening. I had never even seen a shooting star before. 25 years of rotations, passes through comets' paths, and travel, and to my memory I had never witnessed burning debris scratch across the night sky. Radiohead were hunched over their instruments. Tom York slowly beat on a grand piano singing, eyes closed into his microphone like he was trying to kiss around a big nose. Colin Green.
This rambling, incoherent stream of conscious nonsense goes on for 4 paragraphs before he actually even begins to talk about the album. 4 paragraphs of this shit. What is this, a rock critic script? Heyo!
Like, he praises the album, but in a way that makes me uncomfortable. Kid A makes rock and roll childish. Considerations on its merits as rock are pointless. Comparing this album is like comparing an aquarium to blue construction paper.
I mean, dude, yeah, it's good. It's very, very good. But could you, like, calm down? You're at like a 12. I need you at about a 6, my man. Ugh.
As your ears decide whether the tones are coming or going, Tom York's Cuisinarted voice struggles for its tongue.
What?
Tom York's Cuisinarted voice struggles for its tongue?
That phrase wasn't even English. Kid A's lyrics were piecemeal assembled from random, unconnected words and phrases, and even they made more sense than this shit. Tom York's Cuisinarted voice? Fucking silence, Brand!
The experience and emotions tied to listening to Kid A are like witnessing the stillborn birth of a child while simultaneously having the opportunity to see her play in the afterlife on IMAX.
What in God's holy name are you blathering about?
This Radiohead album is as good as a dead baby. Certainly is a take.
Man, Kid A is an album so good, you'd have to be a phenomenally bad writer to make it sound unappealing.
But Brent DiCrescenzo, oh my god. He's done it again. I'd love to say this is the last we hear from the dude, but really, we're only just getting started.
Number 6.
Okay. Pitchfork loves Radiohead, but you know who else they really love? The Flaming Lips.
They are right up Pitchfork's alley. Quirky, complicated, and more indie cred than a MasterCard made up of original Kraftwerk pressings from the 80s. And make no mistake, the site has been very, very kind to them over the years.
Except for the very first time they had to cover them.
Zyreka. Poor Zyreka. This was one of Pitchfork's very first straight-up zeros. Though, to be a little fair to Pitchfork here, an album like Zyreka, there couldn't have been a higher bar for entry for this one. This album is difficult to listen to, and I'm not just talking about stylistically. For those of you who don't know, Zyreka was originally released as a collection of 4 separate CDs, all with various parts of the musical arrangement slapped on them individually in segments.
The idea was, in order to listen to this album properly, you needed 4 CD players all spinning at the exact same time. God help you if you needed to pause for a piss break.
It would be awkward enough to try to wrangle this setup together today, let alone in 2002. It's a really tall order to just listen to one album. Do I want to buy 3 more CD players with which to enjoy Zyreka, or say, eat? Our author goes on to say.
Okay, credit where it's due. No matter how much of a Lips fan you are, I promise you don't love Wayne Coyne more than you hate starvation.
So, there is a very valid point to be made here, sure. No album should be this hard to listen to, and it is a major stumbling block that keeps people from ever hearing the album properly. Believe me, I can understand a score being affected by such a weird esoteric hurdle to have to jump over. But then why is it on this video?
Again, a 0, a straight up 0. Come the fuck on.
Yes, I know this album's a bitch to get spinning, but if you do go to the trouble to get 4 CD players together, it's very nice. It definitely has some tasty cuts on it. If the writer had actually listened to this album properly, he likely would have seen that. But he flat out admits he didn't even attempt to spin this album properly. He says he listened to each CD one at a time and tried to put them together in his head afterwards.
What are you, fucking Rain Man? Look, I don't care how many fine arts degrees you have. No one can fucking do that!
On top of that, there's also some very uncalled for pot shots taken at the Lips fan base. They don't have the money for 4 CD players, and if they did, they'd spend it all on, you guessed it, inhalants and detox.
Okay, sophomore college student who's obviously writing this from his dorm room, let someone with 8 years of experience in this business give you a little bit of a pro tip. When writing a review, talk about the singer, not the scene. Because talking about the scene instead of the singer is totally fucking tasteless.
This review was so poorly received that, you guessed it, they eventually took it down and years later had to basically write an apology review. But the original is still available on the Wayback Machine for those of you who want to know what not doing your goddamn job looks like.
Again, you're a major media outlet with a wellspring of resources and capital. Maybe the album that requires a lot of extra legwork to listen to, how about don't give that to the intern who has to rest a paint can on his CD player just so he can get it running? Just a thought.
Number 5.
Oh, I said I wasn't gonna make this personal. No, but god damn it. This one's personal. Fuck it.
Do y'all remember just how good Damien Rice was? I mean, have you gone back and tried on some of those old records lately? My God, do they hold up well. Rice's trademark brand of painful, passionate, and viciously honest acoustic folk just feels so goddamn relatable. A few of his bigger songs did get way too overplayed, but make no mistake, the dude was talented. And man, on his second album, 9, songs like Me, My Yoke and I, 9 Crimes, and Rootless Tree are must listens, especially Rootless Tree. I mean, fuck you,
It's the perfect breakup song.
it's another absolutely brilliant piece of music that Pitchfork absolutely despised. Ow!
And, you know, that's okay. No, really, it is. It's fine. I mean, I get it. Rice's, coffee house style of melancholy troubadourism isn't exactly everyone's cup of tea. But, this article in particular, the crux of his entire argument against this album is, well,
no professional fake has ever been so explicit as to begin a record with a song called 9 Crimes, nor ever kept so fuzzy about what those crimes actually are. His disclosures are usually too trite, his offenses too vague, ever to really ring true. Rice's 9 renders past transgressions merely hypothetical. This album promises 9 crimes, but at 10 tracks, it's actually a bargain. Hints, allegations, and things left unsaid.
Damien's too vague. He doesn't go into enough detail. Blah, 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 blah. And I'm sitting here reading this review, and I'm thinking to myself the whole time, yeah, that's why it's good?
I mean, yes, there is such a thing as being too vague in songwriting, make no mistake. If you aren't careful, you can write yourself into a situation where you make things either too obtuse or too boring if you don't show us enough details. But if you leave out just the right parts, you can hit that perfect sweet spot where the listener fills in the blanks of your song with their own experiences, and then that gives them the ability to make the song their own. You don't know the specific details as to how the relationship in Rootless Tree fell apart, for example, but you can still relate to it on such a visceral level because... Fuck you, fuck you, fuck you.
I mean, fuck, we've all been there, right?
But no, our writer here is having absolutely none of this. So much so that he compares Damien Rice to, I shit thee not, O.J. Simpson, and the album itself to when O.J. tried to pass off a
hypothetical
version of the Nicole Simpson murders as a
fictional
novel titled If I Did It. Damien Rice's 9 is as bad as If I Did It.
I mean, yeah, Damien's a little scant with the details, but what do you want him to do? Go out and commit actual crimes? Oh, I'm so sorry Damien Rice hasn't murdered enough people for your liking, Mr. Reviewer Man. I'm sure his strangling arm was just tired that day.
Again, this is that same guy who shat all over So Jealous and Siren Song of the Counterculture, so...
Like I say, I promise I'm not trying to make this personal, but it's like this dude is coming after my senpais directly. Why you gotta come after my senpais, dog? What the motherfuck did sweetie lesbians and sad Irish boys ever do to you?
Fuck you, fuck you, fuck you.
Number 4.
Okay, so the next one on the list is Childish Gambino.
You wanna see my girl? Check Maxim, man. Why does every black actor gotta...
But I'm kind of fucked on that front because, I mean, you guys know me, I know shit from dick about rap, so,
Alright, whoa, hang on there, Crash.
Oh, hey, look. It's a JPEG of Spectrum Pulse. What's up, Mark?
I heard you're gonna be tackling Pitchfork's review of Camp.
I don't know, I think I can handle it. I mean, how hard could it actually be?
Alright, look, trust a guy who knows. You might be a little bit out of your depth with this one. Maybe somebody who can speak on hip-hop a little bit more regularly can step in, chat about this one.
Oh, come on, man, I can handle this. Hey, check this out. Okay, it's Childish Gambino, homegirl, drop it like the NASDAQ. Move white girls like this coat up my ass crack. Move
Oh,
black girls,
you did not have to do that.
Fuck you, I'm having fun.
Like I said, you're a little bit out of your jurisdiction. Let me tackle this one. So there are a lot of reasons why discussion of Camp and Pitchfork's unfortunate reaction to it are kind of messy. The first being the acknowledgement that Camp isn't exactly a great or classic album. Now, settle down, Gambino fans. It is fine enough, at least to me. Childish Gambino has a good flow, a knack for theatrical bombast that I appreciate, real expressive charisma, and while the punchlines can definitely fall on the corny side, they do connect together, and the past decade of forgettable trap monotony and horrible comedy rap from clowns like Lil Dicky have shown exactly how bad things can really get. Hell, while the easiest early comparisons to Childish Gambino were Lil Wayne and Kanye West, are we suddenly going to ignore how sloppy and corny those two could get, especially around 2011?
You full of shit, you close your mouth and let your ass talk. I sent this bitch a picture of my dick.
But even putting all that aside, if I were to highlight some of the glaring flaws and weaknesses of Camp, it would come in some painfully dated hashtag rap, production that has lacked some depth and grit, and some of that aforementioned corniness, not helped by the unself-conscious earnestness in which Childish Gambino delivered every line. And look, I got a higher tolerance for that than most, and at least Childish Gambino has a delivery that can make it work, unlike someone like, say, Big Sean. But again, at least for me, not a great album. And I've even seen the arguments where it's not even a good album, and I kind of get those arguments. And yet to hear from Pitchfork, you'd think these issues were so overwhelming that they would expose Camp as a cornball Kanye West ripoff from a rapper so consumed with being a black nerd in predominantly white spaces and pointing it out, experiences which the critic then tries to flat out invalidate in the final paragraph of the review by literally referencing how far we've come as a people and how many other rappers can fill the same niche for all audiences in that era. Keep in mind, this is 2011.
I sent this bitch a picture of my dick.
So, putting aside how Pitchfork bends over backwards to accommodate the most bargain barrel variations of otherwise conventional trap that'll be forgotten within a few months, maybe it's a little bit of a dicey thing to try to invalidate earnest black nerd experiences, especially when they aren't accompanied with the expected shield of hypermasculinity, or especially when artists like Tyler the Creator or Open Mike Eagle or Milo will keep on bringing them up. It's obviously still a thing. But then the critic goes even further, opening the review with lines like, "If you only buy one hip-hop album this year, I'm guessing it'll be Camp," continuing the ugly arc of dunking on fans instead of the art in question. And it's a really cheap way to try and strip away Childish Gambino's hip-hop legitimacy and cred from him so they can then target the casual sexism they would otherwise ignore in conventional hip-hop, and then home in on a presumed inferiority complex, which on later projects would later reveal itself as lingering depression brought upon by loneliness given his prodigious talent. Of course, Camp reads as insecure and projecting, which the critic then tries to use as a witty and sardonic punchline to end off the review. All the more ironic because Childish Gambino actually referenced Pitchfork on Camp directly.
My nigga like, I'd get you MTV if I could, man. And Pitchfork only like rappers who crazy your hood, man, so.
And in their proud tradition of being embarrassingly thin-skinned and craven whenever they're called out, they went all scorched earth on Camp, which made the rush back to praise Childish Gambino's work that embraced all the more layers of artifice and trap sounds and funk, all the later years, all the more hilarious to me. So yeah, Pitchfork, tell me how that ain't insecure. So yeah, Crash, that help out?
Actually, yes, Mark. Thank you. That was very insightful.
Glad to have you on, man. Thanks for listening.
The fuck?
Number 3.
Hey, you guys want to see something funny?
And that's why AJR is surface-level musical talents with no redeeming qualities and some of the worst writing I've ever heard. They are a scourge of 2019. Hey, Crash.
Hey, Luke. How's it going? You're a big Mars Volta guy, right? Hang on. I'm sending you something. Check your email.
Sure, you know I love Mars Volta. I'll take a look at it. What are you sending me? Pitchfork. All right. What? Oh my gosh! Who wrote this? First of all, let's just go with what this guy thinks about prog music. Prog compensates with double kick drums and the phallic gratification of rabid shredding. I wasn't aware that prog music was a part of the male patriarchy. What is this guy talking about? Anyway, when he starts talking about Deloused, I'm really kind of torn because he talks about it's too melody-driven for prog. Oh yeah, the band Rush never had one melody in its entire discography. What am I to say though? I'm not exactly working for Pitchfork, am I? Then he starts talking about there's a kid with a green Ibanez that just idolizes Omar Rodriguez Lopez. Okay, this was in 2005 though. He wasn't exactly the icon that he is now with over 40 albums to his name. What is this guy's problem with the Mars Volta? This is some rabid level hate. Then he talks about Cygnus Visman's Cygnus and how the story of an HIV positive male prostitute and drug addict born out of rape. But who knows? He doesn't even know the story of the song. And how did he come to those conclusions? HIV positive male prostitute? Wow, I don't remember that being a part of it. At 6 minutes, Widow, a yowling November Rain style ballad. Okay, this man is comparing an 8-minute ballad from November Rain to the shortest song on Francis the Mute, Widow. This guy is officially doing more drugs than Guns N' Roses and the Mars Volta combined, which is saying something considering both bands really love their plants. Then it goes on to talk about Cassandra Gemini saying, "Smoke a bowl if you need to, but nothing short of opium will convince me that there aren't more productive ways to spend 30 minutes trying to fell a redwood with a plastic spoon than listening to this beast." 30 minutes of a song broken down and he can't handle, but he'd rather go in the woods and try to chop down a tree. What is wrong with this guy? It's like he's trying to make analogies and comparisons, but he can't figure it out, so he just uses a lot of big words to make him sound smarter. There is some superfluous verb and adjective usage in this entire article. And I said that correctly because it looks like this guy just bought a new thesaurus and is desperate to try it out. He has no concept of the entire album, the story, the music driven, how the album was written, what the parts about it with the diary they found were, and the repo car, everything else involved with the Mars Volta he clearly has a bias against. But you know what? At least this guy sounds like he knows what he's talking about. Or at least he knows 4-syllable words. That's something for Pitchfork, I guess. Pitchfork is awful. They probably liked AJR though. Ugh. Stupid Pitchfork.
Number 2.
9 Inch Nails. Again, do I need to say anything here? They're 9 Inch Nails. This is a band almost synonymous with rock in the 90s and the 2000s and beyond. Their list of accolades goes on for ages, but one album that some people will argue isn't much of an accolade is 1999's The Fragile. And I'm just here to tell you, those people are motherfucking wrong. The Fragile is a fucking beautiful record. It's amazing. And the fact that so many people gave this album the wrong time of day really is unfortunate. I'm at kind of a loss here because I'm not necessarily the biggest 9 Inch Nails fan in the world, but I think I have enough knowledge about the band and clout to successfully... Ow! Ow! Shit! Ow!
What the Reznor-loving fuck, Pitchfork? I absolutely adore The Fragile. While it wasn't my favorite record about 8 years ago when I first really started to talk about them on the internet, it's just grown in love for me, and I've always hated this Pitchfork review. Not just because of its incredibly low score, which I'll get to in a minute, but the way the review is structured is so incredibly wrong and incredibly disrespectful to Trent's artistry. It's an attempt at a joke review showcasing the writer's descent into boredom with his experience listening to the album, and it is laden with a level of pretentiousness I think transcends any level someone could conceptually muster. If you think hipsters are pretentious now, give this review a read and it'll shock you. It's written with timestamps and really tries to paint a narrative, going so far as to detail his attire and tell us the car he drives, like anyone would care.
I drive a Dodge Stratus!
He even takes time to critique its fucking font in the liner notes. The font! I get album art contributing so greatly to the aesthetic of an album, and it can be an important thing to address, but you shouldn't dedicate an entire goddamn paragraph to it, especially when it's just about the fucking font choice that boils to calling Trent Reznor the alter ego of Garth goddamn Brooks. I mean, good God, it's not even like the album art is bad either. I actually adore the look of the cover. It's a nice use of colors, and it looks like a good companion piece to the Downward Spiral, which The Fragile is supposed to be, and invokes the feeling of fragility. Plus, all of the meandering in the review boils down to the same critique spun through only slightly different funnels. It's boring and pandering to the new metal crowd. Two conflicting statements which couldn't be more far off. To say the sounds on this pander to the new metal crowd because the guitars are huge and heavy is like saying Queens of the Stone Age are a prog rock band because they wrote songs for the deaf. Or to say Wasting Light panders to garage rock because it was made in Dave's garage. Trent pours some real heart into this album. Some points in his performance seemingly pushed Trent's capabilities at the time. To say this experience is boring is to say that you didn't even pay attention to what was in front of you. and deserves a far higher score than a 2 out of 10. Hell, The Day the Whole World Run Away, Into the Void, and The Great Below alone are worth more than that. This reads like a student asked to write a book report who started it the night before it's due.
Bart, have you ever read The Boy Who Cried Wolf?
I'm halfway through it, I swear!
It's as monotonous in plotting and tone and structure as the writer seems to think this album, further exploring the themes of love, loss, and deeper delvings into the headspace of absolute bleakness is. Who wrote this trash anyway? Oh! That guy wouldn't know flavor if you smacked him with the Colonel's 11 herbs and spices. I mean, fuck off, Brent, you pretentious snob. God. You know, now that I'm standing here, I realize that in my fit of rage, I didn't have much of an escape plan for this, which is an issue because Crash should be waking up anytime soon, and that's kind of...
Thank you, fuck you, goodbye, next!
Number 1.
I mean, come on, you knew it was gonna be this, didn't you? You had to know it was gonna be this one.
I don't know if Pitchfork have ever dropped the ball harder on an album that deserved better. I can sit here and talk about Tool's accolades all day. If you're watching my channel, mother-humping Tool probably needs zero introduction. But yeah, their 2001 masterpiece, Lateralis, is a goddamn triumph. Double platinum, Grammy for Best Metal Performance, so many Best of the Year accolades, and time has only been kinder and kinder to this skin-peeling little gem. 1.9 on Pitchfork.
And who do we have to thank for this? Brent DiCrescenzo! Oh, and Brent's. Fucking Brent's. It was never enough for this guy to just say, I don't like the album, wah! No. This dude had to go and make things weird.
Again, there is essentially no review here. Oh, there's an article here to be sure, nearly 1,700 goddamn words of article. But he doesn't review this album. Not in any way that's meaningful or useful for anybody else. We start off with a few textbook-style definitions, some backhanded praise for the band. I mean, Jesus, look at this. That's like saying, the best thing about you is your big fat mouth. Oh. And then...
it's showtime.
My Summer Vacation by Crispin Fubert. This is Higgins English Comp 901.
What?
I believe that music comes and goes in cycles, and some of us are lucky enough to ride the crests. The men in my family are perfect examples of this. Initially, I thought that the perfect music appeared every 16 years.
What does any of this have to do with
Hubert generations? My dad was born in 1971. In that year, landmark albums were released. They were Nursery Crimes.
Why are you doing this to me, Pitchfork?
Yes album
Why?
by Yes. Aqualung
Why
by
are you
Temple,
doing this
and
to
In the
me?
Land of Grey and Pink by Caravan.
The rest
My
of the
grandfather skipped out
article
on Vietnam
reads
because
like
Jimi
a
Hendrix
high
himself
schooler's
told him
essay.
to, and he moved to
A
Canterbury,
particularly
which is in the United
dumb
Kingdom.
high schooler's
There he got
essay.
married to my
And
grandmother, who
again,
used to
like
sell
with the
baked goods to
Radiohead
people
review,
at
it takes
concerts.
him 4 goddamn paragraphs of fucking nothing before he even begins to talk about the band this motherfucker got paid to write about.
Yeah, because the first time you did that, it went over so well, why not do it all over again? Write your novella on your own fucking time, Don DeLillo. This white noise can fuck off.
And when he finally does start talking about the band, Jesus, it's the best Tool record because it's the longest.
All of this ceaseless, never-ending bullshit just to say, wah, the album's too long. Me no likey long album. God, and you guys say that my videos can get too long. Well, you're right, but at least I don't subject you to this shit.
The first song is called The Grudge, and it's about astrology and how people control stuff. Saturn ascends, not 1 but 10, he sings. No doubt an REM sang out that too, but those songs were wimpy and short.
Yes, The Grudge uses the Saturn transit phenomenon as a metaphor for repeating your mistakes and not learning to let go and move beyond your shortcomings and prejudices. It's a little complicated, sure, but you're telling me that lyrics being intelligently written and multi-layered is a bad thing? Or to just put it in a less nuanced way, wah, I'm a thicky dum-dum, wah, right hooker with a penis again.
Then he goes on to list Danny Carey's gear.
Not a commentary, not like notes on his setup or how he plays or what he does with the kit. Nope. Just a rote, standard, long freaking list.
Drums, Thoner Designer Series, Babinga Wood, 8x14 snare, bronze, 8x8 tom, 22-inch signature, thin china, 20 tom, 18 by power crash, Simmons M18 by True Line Danny Carey model wood tip drumsticks.
What was your goal in writing this? What are you trying to convey to the reader with these words? That using gear is dumb? How dare an album that uses a lot of complicated time signatures use a complicated kit to pull them off? What a total loser fucking pleb, Danny Carey. I'm smart. Love me, Daddy. Love me. I was smart on the internet, Daddy. Now you have to love me, Daddy.
In conclusion, there is more emotion on that album than would be on 30 Weezer albums.
I hope you contract hemorrhoids the size of basketballs.
Music comes in cycles and works on math, and my life and Tool are proof of that for sure.
Dude, it is not my fault. It is not anyone else's fault. And it certainly isn't the band's fault that you're too stupid to understand this album.
Seriously, that's all I see when I read this article. Some jumped up little shit bitching and complaining that it's too complicated, it's too long, the lyrics mean things, there isn't a hashish brownie recipe on this one, poser pleb bullshit.
And that's what just kills this review for me. It's what kills a lot of Pitchfork's reviews and even a lot of their non-review related content. Just the contempt.
Absolute searing contempt. For the artist, for the audience, for their own fucking readers. This goddamn website has such a bad habit of telling people how small and insignificant and stupid they are to be a part of something, or to want to be a part of something. And this review in particular is just dripping with that kind of hostile, absolutely disgusting contempt. It's gatekeeping of the absolute worst kind, and its only real purpose is to make you feel bad, feel lesser, feel out of the loop. We are better than you.
You're not good enough to run with us, kid. You know, yeah, Pitchfork has done some good things over the years, but man, after reading article after article after article of just absolute withering contempt, I completely understand why they have the snot-nosed, elitist, and horrible reputation, and I can say with absolute confidence that they deserve every ounce of bile they've gotten over the years. These motherfuckers, they really do have it coming. I'm not sorry to say that. Holy goddamn shit. Although, I guess in the interest of complete fairness, everything I did tackle here was a fairly old review. I mean, you know what? Let's just take 1 minute to, have a look-see and see what they're up to these days. Let's see what's coming out of the pipeline these days.
by the end of 2019, Pitchfork will be put behind a paywall?
You expect people to pay for this? Good luck with that.
Hey guys, just wanted to pop in real quick and thank Viral Rack, Rocked, and Spectrum Pulse for being kind enough to jump on this video to help out. And of course, a big thanks to our super tier patrons, Brandon Barenfeld, May Madison, and Kyle A. Lamb, along with all of these lovely patrons who make the show possible.